Good afternoon, everyone. This is Captain Ando. I'm known as the Dark Star Strategist. And today I'm going to take a little look at territory defenses and getting crews properly set up to maintain 5 ships. So, first of all, I just finished doing some of my dailies and some of my Crucible of War hostels. I want to bring the Jelly back and get it repaired and get it decrewed so we can repopulate it with crew for territory defense. And I will do that with my miners as well. So my miners happen to be local mining our isogen, so they're a pretty quick jump back to base. So got my jelly back. Now the first thing you do when you get your ships back is actually go ahead and start basically decrewing the things almost completely. So I'm going to go ahead and swap the ship to something that has all the belly slots there. I'm going to start pulling crew members from the bottom here because these are going to be going into the ship itself later. I'm going to leave the Burrell as one of my defense ships. Now, in the 5th slot, I always like to use the sarcophagus here because it shares a lot of the discovery officers. So I'm going to go ahead and what I'm going to do with that, instead of actually decrewing it, my sarcophagus does not have a lot of belly slots. So I'm just going to move some of these officers from the TOS over here. I'm going to take Saru out. I don't really need him. And I'm just going to put these guys in hiding for a little bit. And what I can do with these two is swap them around. It isn't necessarily an optimal Sark crew, but it's a good one. It has increased armor and even more, and it decreases their armor piercing. So this is a very good setup. It doesn't help much with Culver's availability, but there is a burning on a capture node here. So that's a pretty simple setup. I like to make it quick and painless. And then I'll bring the sarcophagus into that slot so I can start crewing it up here in a little bit. Now that I got my miners back, I do kind of the same thing as I did with my discovery slot. So instead of necessarily moving all these ones to the back, I'm just moving the ones that are weak in stats. Now, minor officers, for those who don't know, are actually fairly strong in stat categories. So I'm going to leave that here. And then I'm going to swap it over to the D4. And then once I get the D4 ready to crew, I'll go ahead and do that. And last but not least, I'll take my Valkys. Oops, RevDeuce has a video coming out, I see. Sorry about the interruption. Give that a minute. Okay. Anyway, go ahead and bring up another ship that has all the slots. Move most of these into the background. Gonna need to move one out, I think. Actually, two. And I think I'll make this my D4 slot, in fact. So I'll leave that there where it's at. Make this into my auger slot because it has fewer belly slots. Make this my D4 slot. Now that I have all my ships identified, now it's just a matter of crewing them properly. So first thing you want to do is focus on the bridge slots. So you notice I already decrewed my Enterprise here and just leave the top 3 officer slots. The same thing I do with the other ships there. So I'll assign the officers. D4, I like to run Gorkin. I like to run Kurla. And then I like to run Sharvanek. Because if you remember from my past video, my D4 specifically is set up to kill augers and other battleships. So this is a good setup here because it has armor piercing increase from Sharvanek, and it has hull breach and kinetic damage or crit increases to augment the ability of the ship to do better damage in a battleship or a interceptor on battleship scenario. So next, I'm looking at my auger. My auger, I like to run a burning crew of some form. I don't run a anti-enterprise crew here, so instead I'm going to focus a little bit more on taking advantage of just burning and damage in general. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in Georgiou in my slot here to get a little bit of that extra burning in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw in con. This is a pretty good general purpose thing. It'll beef up my stats to 300%. And another thing about this particular setup here is because it doesn't have any officers that actually require any stats to be increased, I can go ahead and leave that. Actually, come to think of it, I'll put Giorgio in the captain slot just to take advantage of decreasing the burning. I don't have to really worry about what else I put in the belly here because I got 300%, and none of my stats actually get boosted by increasing stats any further. So that leaves me the option to use other officers elsewhere. My Burrell, I like to set this up for a anti-interceptor crew. So now there's various versions of that. This time I'm going to go ahead and play around with doing a setup to take out Saladins as well as taking out... Actually, I don't want Mara there. She's not a very good one on a Explorer class, but we can go ahead and we can pull... We've got Krell. He's in an away mission. I might need to pull him back. Quag, I believe, increases accuracy. That's only when a ship has hull breach, so I'm not going to use that one. Well, actually, yeah, I can do that because he'll have hull breach the first 3 rounds. That will give increased accuracy the first 3 rounds, in addition to Kang's primary ability, which is even more damage, 800%. And next thing, since I got a crew that's in an away mission, if I have speed ups and I want that crew member, I can bring them back by bringing them back from the away team. So the next thing I just want to do is look out which away team has them. Once I determine that, I'll see if I can speed that up real quick. Okay, 4 hours, 1 hour, 15 minutes. Done. So that's how I can get that crew member unleashed pretty quickly. Just finish that away team nice and easy. I want to have the best crew available for defense. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set up this lineup here. It's not a very defensive crew, but on PvP specifically, you don't have to be defensive. And what this is doing is it's also increasing the damage percentage against Federation ships by 500%. So this is going to hit Saladins and even Kelvins if they arrive quite hard. And now, one thing to keep in mind here is Kang's ability has a bonus based on attack stat. So when I crew this ship, I'm going to want to make sure I do it specifically to max out the percentages to 300%, but I definitely want to go beyond that. I want to focus specifically on attack to boost that triangle officer. So now that I got all my initial crewing on the bridge setup, now I can go ahead and move on to actually crewing the underbelly and getting these ship's stats as high as I can. So the one I will start out with is the sarcophagus. I'm not going to be able to bring up the stats as high as I would prefer. I would prefer to have them as high as possible, but because I only have 3 belly slots available right now, I am somewhat limited in how high I can go with that. Right now I got about 240, 300, 270. I might be able to bring that up a bit more. I'll see if anyone specifically has attack stats with a lot of stats. Marat does, and Mara. I'll try Mara out here and see what that does with my stats. Okay, so that gives me 270, 300, 270. That's pretty good for the current setup. I could tweak this crew around if I wanted to. I'm not going to in this case. I'm just going to kind of leave it as is because I want to focus on the other crews. Now my auger, as I remember, does not require any increases in stats. So this is good to go. My auger is good to go. I'm going to send these 2 ships out early. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I already have my base in a CD Alpha. I'm going to go ahead and move my sarcophagus next to a node. So I'm just going to go over here for argument's sake. And I'm going to move my auger next to it. I'd like to get those ships out as early as I can. You want to have at least 20 minutes in advance a very strong presence in system. But obviously, as you go out there, you want to have them crewed well as well. Okay, so now I got my Sark and my auger taken care of. My next priority is going to be my D4 with Charvanek. Specifically, The stat I need to improve upon is health. I think I can make up the difference in 30% defense with one character. Indeed, I think Nero will do it. If he doesn't, Bones certainly will. Okay, done. I got a higher health percentage. Now, looking at it specifically, my health is about 21,000. That's pretty good. That's enough to make Charvenek hit harder, and that's what I want to do. I want her to hit about as hard as I can. And then, next I'm going to focus on my Burrell. Now, my Burrell specifically is closer to the 300 percentage, but when I come back, I'm going to want to make sure I increase that attack stat. So I'm going to look at the Enterprise because I believe that setup is a little bit more undercrewed right now. It is. They're about 210. I'm going to go ahead and just throw in some big stat officers in general just to see what I can do with those stats. See if I can bring them up or close to 300%. We're looking a lot better. So now I'm going to move back to the Burrell again. Try to move that so it's pretty well in there. I'm going to pick a high defense stat officer. And that gave me 300% across the board in the Burrell. Now, so again with the Enterprise, I want to focus for Marcus. His officer ability increases based on defense stats. So what I want to do is I just want to take high defense stat officers and start moving them into these slots one by one. That will give me almost 34,000 defense. So my Enterprise, if any other explorers come in, it's going to hit like a truck. That's a lot of attack bonus, especially with the 1600 percentage. Now I switch back to the Burrell. I just switch to the attack stat and I do the exact same thing. Oops. Yeah, that's right. So got Otto, Yuki, Maral, 7 of 10, DJ Aoki, and 6 of 10. That gives us an attack stat of 24,000. So you can see we did that pretty quick. We're about 20 minutes to the event itself. Sorry about the pop-ups again. I really need to figure out how to turn those off before these videos. But that's how you want to do that. You just want to crew it quickly. You want to get them out there quickly. You want to make sure you get that presence out early. We're about 20 minutes out because allies are going to see you and they're going to see that you're committed to your own defense. And the enemies, if they come in and scout you, they're seeing all of your big ships there are ready for them. So they know when you come out there, it's going to be a formidable fight. So that's the goal in general. You just want to be there, get out early. You want to crew intelligently. You can save your officer slots for on some of your ships that don't have a full belly crew to just recrew your miners later. Because that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to basically take the Augur and the D4. I'm going to move those same crews I was using back to the main slots in the bridge. And I'm just going to go back mining again. And it's as simple as that. That's the quick and dirty. I just want to give you guys a general idea of how I work this personally, what's worked for me. And if you guys have any questions about it or why I chose the crews I chose, please feel free to message me in Alliance Chat or Discord, and we'll chat about it. Anyway, this is Captain Ando. I am the Dark Star Strategist. Live long and prosper. I am signing out.